July 4th to 5th, Colombo lunar eclipse. The moon may turn slightly darker than a usual full moon for those in much of North and South America and Africa during the maximum phase of this Colombo lunar eclipse. The eclipse begins in New York time 11:07 23 p.m. So it's 117 and it's translated to 911. If you use the Hebrew calendar, so the Hebrew month, the 7th month is the 9th month, and vice versa. So that's why 711 is actually meaning 911 also. Then 23 means 2 divided by 3 is equal to 0.666. Maximum eclipse in New York time is 12:29:51 a.m. So that is a 1229. So it's like 2 times 911 here. So this is Sodet, which is Sirius or Dog Star. Consort is Orion, Osiris, and offspring is Venus and Horus. The actual dog days, or canicula days as they are known, are defined as the period from July 3rd through August 11th, when the dog star Sirius rises in conjunction with the Sun. As a result, the classical Greek and Roman belief was that the combination of the brightest luminary of the day, the Sun, and the brightest star of the night, Sirius, were responsible for the extreme heat that is experienced during the middle of the northern summer. Other effects, according to the ancients, were droughts, plagues, and madness. Dog Star's night sky legacy. In ancient Egypt, the new year began with the return of Sirius. It was, in fact, the Nile star, or the star of Isis, of the early Egyptians. Interestingly, some 5,000 years ago, this star's heliacal rising, appearing to rise just prior to the Sun, occurred not in August, as is the case today, but rather on or around June 25th. When the ancient Egyptians saw Sirius rising just before the Sun, they knew that the Nile days were at hand. Its annual reappearance was a warning to people who lived along the Nile River. The star always returned just before the river rose, and so announced the coming of flood waters, which would add to the fertility of their lands. People then opened the gates of canals that irrigated their fields. Priests, who were the calendar keepers, cited the first rising of the dog star from their temples. At the temple of Isis Hathor at Dendera is a statue of Isis, which is located at the end of an aisle lined by tall columns. A jewel was placed in the goddess' forehead. The statue was oriented to the rising of Sirius, so that the light from the returning dog star would fall upon the gem. When the priests saw the light of the star shining upon the gem for the first time, they would march from the temple and announce the new year. In the temple appears an inscription, "Her Majesty Isis shines into the temple on New Year's Day, and she mingles her light with that of her father Ra on the horizon." She was represented as a woman with a star on top of her headdress, or as a seated cow with a plant between her horns, as depicted on an ivory tablet of King Dija. The plant may have been symbolic of the year, and thus linking her to the yearly rising of Sirius and the new year. She was very occasionally depicted as a large dog, or in Roman times as the goddess Isis saw it. She was shown riding side saddle on a large dog. Sirius happens to travel the sky just ahead of the large constellation of Orion. Orion was identified with the dying and resurrected god Osiris in Egyptian mythology, who was one of the most well-known gods of Pantheon. His wife and sister Isis was Lady of Magic, who brought her husband back to life, and the bright star his constellation followed naturally came to be associated with her. In late August and early September, look for a hint of the changing season in the pre-dawn sky. Orion the Hunter and Sirius the Dog Star, the very noticeable constellation Orion the Hunter, rises before dawn at this time of year. Recognizable for the short straight line of three stars that make up Orion's belt, and the sky's brightest star Sirius, sometimes called the Dog Star, because it's part of the constellation Canis Major, the greater dog, follows Orion in the sky as the pre-dawn darkness gives way to dawn.